Tim.
Mike, hello.
Oh, hey man.
How are you?
I'm good. Yeah,
You
having
had
a
a big
quiet.
you had a big weekend.
Yeah, summer dance was last weekend. It was a good send off. Yeah,
A
and
lot of love.
yeah, it was amazing. It was quite overwhelming at times for sure.
I bet. I bet.
Well, I'll jump in and set some context for the viewers here. So I think it was on Saturday last weekend during the day. I was not at Nelson Ledge's premises. Just had this idea of like doing this conversation with you as a way to like pass the torch. And I thought it could be interesting. I think this is, as I see it, this is primarily for the fans. Like, let's just like let them into our worlds a bit and connect and just talk about what this is like for us.
Hmm.
And so yeah, we're recording. I think we're going to post it to YouTube. I think Lotus will post it to their channel. And I'm super, like when I mentioned it to you, you seemed really excited about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to just jump into this thing, preserve your legacy. I'm excited to talk to you. We've always gotten along and had some good musical moments over the years, and
Mhm.
this is not a light thing that's happening. This is a big move for everyone involved. So
It's a
you know,
big deal. Yeah. And I feel like you and I are kind of at like this central access point. We're like, you and I are just in the heart of it. Like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. There's a lot. I mean, if it was the future, maybe I could download all the info in your brain and then, you know, integrate it into my stuff. But no, it's there's a lot of learning to do. So,
Mhm.
um, you know, as a 42-year-old, I'm happy for this musical mental stimulation
Hmm,
and all the new experiences.
totally. I didn't realize we were so close to the same age. I'm about to turn 42 next month. So
Nice. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
79 babies, baby.
that's right. Um, I think I might actually share, just do a quick share about something. I know we basically set it up, talking to the listeners now. So Tim and I are just going to ask each other a few questions and we're going to respond and just riff on them a bit. But before we get there, I wanted to say something, uh, Tim, that I had forgotten to say on the mic. I gave like a little mini speech at the end on Sunday night at my last show.
Oh, awesome.
And one of the things I forgot to say was how I'd connected with you and you had expressed like the sincere interest in like really capturing or embodying like the spirit of Lotus, like the
Hmm.
legacy, like carrying it on. And I really wanted to name that that night that I was speaking to the crowd, but I just forgot and I was a little nervous. I don't normally talk on a mic.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that just felt really important, and I wanted everybody to know. It's like, no, this guy Tim is like, he's interested in like maintaining the spirit of this thing. And I named that because I think a lot of people probably recognize, at least on the surface, we're like pretty different players. Like we have, totally different style and capacity and all
Hmm.
that. So I just wanted to name that. You have any response to that?
And it's important. I mean, granted, my individuality will appear when the music becomes second nature, but there are a lot of notes to account for and styles and that have developed over the past 20 years with you guys that, yeah, I just need to preserve this thing. And thankfully, I have musical personality disorder. So I'm able to wear a lot of different musical hats and jump into it. But yeah, I think that's the most important thing, especially because you just went out on top. You were just
Hmm.
guns a blazing with like playing your
Hmm.
your heart out, and everyone. I'm not in fan groups or anything, but I friended some Lotus fans, and so I could sense the love online and
Hmm.
what's happening. And so to come in after you ending on this pinnacle, I'm like, hi everybody. So I gotta be prepared for this.
Hmm. Hmm. Totally. Yeah. Well, I have so much confidence that you've got it, and um, frankly, I'm excited for the evolution and the development of the Lotus sound with you
Yeah.
as a part of it. So
You made me buy humbucker guitars. I've been a single coil guitar player my whole life. Now it's like I'm just like snatching up humbuckers.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
How is it so far?
I'm liking it. Honestly, I should have gone that route earlier probably, but
Mm.
when you love a guitar, you love a guitar. I mean, I did play the Gibson SG for a long time, so in all fairness, yes, I did play on humbuckers, but that guitar is such a barking, roaring rock instrument,
Mm.
getting into this hollow body sound and just, more just a woodier, warmer kind of fuller sound is nice. I'm still experimenting. I got a buddy, Dan Nevesey, who's making a guitar. So that could be
Mm.
the Lotus main axe and then pepper in other things, I'm really, I'm non-committal with the guitars right now. I'm
Mm.
having fun trying all sorts of different ones,
Nice, nice.
but I won't be getting up there with any like Jackson or Flying V's. I don't see, you know, the Dimebag Daryl model being used or anything.
You can just test it out, see how it goes.
Yeah, I mean, so
Well, let's
yeah,
jump into want to jump into these questions?
sure.
So yeah, let's just go back and forth. You want to start or?
Yeah, let me start with since I'm learning all this stuff and then you've learned it over the years, what are your tricks for memorization? Because
Mm.
each song, even if it has what we would call a simple head, might have a tricky arrangement. And then even
Mm.
a simple arrangement might have a tricky head. There's all different uh, challenges to each composition that's being written. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, what are some tricks for you for memorization?
Well, I have the benefit of having just been a part of the slow build of the catalog. So like once it's in my brain, it surprisingly doesn't go away very quickly. Like even like take the pandemic for example, like none of us played, well at least Lotus wasn't playing much.
Yeah,
And we, played songs that we coming back for a show for shows. It's like there's songs we hadn't played in a long time and they're just all still right there.
sure.
But so generally speaking, like once I learned it, it's there. But I think I'm a visual player, and so I kind of just see, like I see where the melodies exist on the neck. So
Mm,
that's an orientation I have. I know that I remember the shape it makes on the neck.
yeah,
Um, but beyond that, I would just say like I would like just put the demos on repeat.
yeah.
Like the Miller brothers would make demos, and I would just like listen to them over and over again.
Hmm.
And then like in the process of listening to them, figuring them out, and writing them into tablature, that would help me remember it. And then once we get to rehearsal, we would hash it out as a group, and then it gets ingrained even further.
Mm,
So, there was just a lot of repetition along the way, and I'm imagining it's super challenging for you because like, we all explored that repetitive process together, and you don't have that benefit exactly in the same way because they already know the songs.
yes, it's very interesting learning, because your development with the genres, they changed. You had the post-rock vibe and then you had this funk vibe, and it started out. I mean, your first two records, I listened to every Lotus record in order,
Mhm.
chronologically, because I wanted to hear that evolution. And the first two albums, you didn't even use distortion once. It was
Mm.
all clean guitar. That's
Mhm.
amazing. No
Mhm.
one's doing that in the jam band scene or
Mhm.
a lot of scenes, maybe just jazz.
Right, right.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Was that purposeful? Like that was an intention or
I don't think at that time it was a conscious intention. Like it was just mostly like what I was into, and I think what we were into stylistically. Like I was just into electronic music, and um, I was really into Pat Metheny. He has a lot of clean tones.
yeah,
Um, so yeah, it just kind of fit the style, Yeah.
nice. Well, you can shred with the best of them too. So
Yeah, I always felt like my shredding was uh, I don't know. I felt like I was faking it because I didn't practice it much. I didn't really like work on my chops,
Hmm.
So I always every time we would get to like a kind of more rock build, I felt like I didn't always feel confident in it. It's like I haven't worked on this a lot. I mean, I was able to pull it off, but
Yeah, well, you have the
yeah,
energy there, and
yeah.
honestly, you got a nasty vibrato sometimes. You make it
Mm.
snarl like, I'm like, whoa, watch out, Mike.
I think that vibrato emerged in more recent years. Like, I don't think I always brought that.
Okay,
Yeah.
no, that's great. All right, your
Well,
turn.
was that sufficient enough?
Oh, that was great.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. This one I'm curious about. What kind of reaction did you have when you received the invitation to try out for Lotus? What happened in your, yeah, what was your
I
response?
was uh I was definitely excited. I was flattered, and I was also pensive, I guess you could say. I was like, all right, trying out for Lotus is going to be a big deal. Like, we've played shows together, but I don't know if I necessarily could have even. I couldn't name a song in a sense.
Hmm.
Like I knew what you guys were about and the vibe and all that, and we jammed before, but maybe it's because I'm just so busy with all my other projects. I just couldn't name a tune. It's tough for
Hmm.
me to listen to things that are outside of what I have to do for playing and gigging. So I had to really do a dive and start listening, be like, is this music that I feel deep down in my soul so that I can be genuine in bringing myself to it and carrying it on. So
Hmm.
it was a bit of a heaviness that I was like, whoa, like, yes, I want to try out. Yes, I'm flattered. I'm excited. And then I was like, this is an undertaking. I'm like, let me evaluate whether, I'm ready for this and I can really do this. So, yeah, it was a seriousness, an excited seriousness. That was my reaction.
Nice, nice. I mean, yeah, it sounds to me like there was intrigue, maybe even some kind of allurement towards it, but like your dedication to yourself and your path as a musician was like, well, that's important. And like, is this going to fit for me? And
Hmm.
I can imagine a kind of heaviness in that. Like, are you taking it seriously?
Yeah, because,
Does
I
that fit?
mean, I'm a jobber and it's like, I love music and my life is music. So, I'll be in the corner of a bar and I could play a tune that no one cares about, but I'm in the zone and I'm happy.
Mm,
But I also know what it's like to be in a gig scenario where you're not happy doing it. And at this point, it's like I don't want to do that to myself and or half-ass, it for anyone else. So because this is a wonderful creative organization, Lotus. This is not just like wedding job, play these covers you don't care about. It's like there needs to be heart and spirit and energy and all that. So that was important for me to find that in myself and be like, okay, I can do it. Let's go.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. Well, it all happened. I think Greenfield told me that they didn't even try anybody else out. Like the rehearsal, when you finally did go play with them, he said it went so well they didn't even try anybody else out. They're like, yeah.
I wasn't sure. I knew that a bunch of guitar players submitted songs for
Mm,
the tryout, but
okay.
I remember when, yeah, it was the beginning of this year, people are asking me for November dates in February. I'm like, what? Okay, well, and that's when I reached out to the Millers, like, can I make an official audition? Can I get a yay
Mm,
or nay? And
hmm.
so when was that? That would have been March of 2021. And then they were like, they were into it. And then it was Red Rocks for you guys, 4 nights. And I was thankful I wasn't starting right away.
Hey man, I'm thankful too. I loved that I got to play 4 nights at Red Rocks in my final year. Like, I mean, talk about a pinnacle. Like that felt. I was stoked about those shows. Yeah,
Yeah. Now
yeah.
you had a great year. I've been listening to the shows and I think, the band sounds amazing. Everyone's firing it on all cylinders and,
Mm.
the fans are satiated. I would say.
Yeah, I think so.
My turn.
Sure.
All right, so this one's, a little bit selfish for me and some of the research I have to do still, but I think all your fans would also appreciate it. So before you enter a jam, what are you thinking about in your approach for three different factors? There's effects, sonically, what's your approach? The notes involved, what's your approach? Because that can change too over the course of a show. Or I already sold it this way. I already sold that, keeping it fresh. And then the energy. So effects, notes, and energy. What are your approaches to jams?
Yeah. I
Start
appreciate
with
that.
anyone. Start with anyone first. It doesn't have to be in that order.
It's a good question. I don't think that I typically have any version of a conscious strategy. Like this is how it's going to be. Like this is how I'm going to approach it. Depending on the song, like if it's like a drum and bass song or a more like spacious atmospheric kind of tune, I might immediately go to like a little bit of an atmospheric loop. I might just do some swells, like loop some swells, or do like a weird reverse effect. Or sometimes I would play like a melody, or like play single notes, or maybe like a melody spaced out over time. So it's really, really slow. But I would record it, I would loop it at halftime, and then I would trigger the loop so it plays double speed, and it gets this weird kind of chirpy, like tickle your neurons kind of thing going on. So yeah, there's this, depending on the style of the song, I might start with a little bit of a loop just to create some atmospheric quality. And then I would say really the go-to is just listening. What's happening? Because it's not, I think, at least the way I've always held it is that when we get into a jam, this is a collective thing. It's not like, even though I'm, let me start over. Even though I'm the lead guitarist, it's not like I'm the guy that's showing up to lead the jam, and that's never how I held it. And it's more like just like, listening and like, what's happening? What's Jesse doing? What's Luke doing? And sometimes I might just jump in more aggressively, or sometimes I might just play more minimally. But I would say it's just mostly about listening. And it's not about conscious strategizing. Like, this is how I'm going to approach this jam. I don't know if I hit the layers. Around energy, I'm maybe sometimes like if maybe there's a little bit of a lull, or if it feels like are people, is the audience into it, like I might every once in a while I'd feel a little fire and play with like a little bit more aggressiveness, and like go into some more leading like solos and kind of experimental like melodic stuff. But it's just really, there's no real rhyme or reason in terms of strategy.
Because I know you meditate, so I was like, are you drawing energy from within? Like you can close your eyes and this is like, you're just focusing on the sound, or do you like opening your eyes and watching the crowd and taking it in and being like, all right, let me try to excite them at the same time? Or it's probably both.
Yeah, it's definitely a mix of both. I think my habitual mode is to be a bit more inward. Yeah, just like listen. I think when my eyes are closed, I have a more direct or pure relationship with the auditory information. It's just like I'm just, especially with in-ears, it's completely immersive. So it's like yeah, there's just a tuning to the sound, and just like being in the dance and like reacting to the whole, the organism. But it's certainly a both and. Like parts of the time I'm just like totally vibing off the audience and like seeking inspiration, smiling. Sometimes it can be distracting to look into the audience. I actually get pulled a little bit out of focus. So yeah.
No, so yeah, you're saying like atmospheric song, atmospheric jam, funkier song, funkier jam. Yeah, Yeah, I know what you mean too. It's like I'm strategizing because it's all new to me. But yeah, when it becomes second nature, that I can get to that level of like listening, what was the emotion of the last tune, like feeling the ebb and flow and the peaks and the valleys and just moving with the organism or the hive mind, which I started out. It's like I'm joining the hive mind of Lotus and the Millers.
Totally. I think there's one other thing I would say about jams that feels pertinent. I think, at least in my mind, there was always a difference between when we're having a group improvisation and like we're all doing it together and we're like kind of layering with each other. And
Hmm.
there's a distinction between that. And then often it would eventually lead to, okay, now it's more like a solo and we're building. So there's
Yeah.
like a very clear distinction there in my mind.
Mm.
And sometimes the soloing, still group improv for sure. But
Yeah.
I think our some of our early influences with like minimalistic music, like the composer Steve Reich, if you've
Mm.
listened to any of his stuff, it's like it's really mesmerizing, really repetitive, but just like little simple phrases that just like layer over each other. And I
Yes.
think Lotus was influenced by that kind of music early on, and like that's how we approached a lot of improvisations, especially in the early days.
Yeah, I mean, umbilical moonrise is, two chords, but there's just constant. There's a lot of moods in there and melodies and man, that's deep. I knew like everyone joining the band, they're like, "Are you playing umbilical moonrise?" And I'm like, "Wow, they haven't even requested it yet." I'm like, I have to learn this song because I need
Hmm.
to, I need this in me so that I could, understand what's going on. I think I know most of the first two records, but there's a few that I still have to get under the fingers. Like I haven't
Hmm.
worked on Colorado yet. And I know
Hmm.
that's a ballad, isn't it?
Hmm.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah, I mean, you were a master with that timeline. The way you were just talking about half looping and stuff. I just figured out how to get into the loop, but I don't have
Hmm.
that controller you have. So
Hmm.
um, I still have a lot to learn with
Yeah,
manipulating. That thing is quite a machine.
yeah, yeah. It's nice.
It is. Your turn.
Okay. Hmm. I'm gonna go to. I'm gonna go to this one. How do you see the Lotus context potentially changing or shaping you as a guitarist?
Oh, it's already taken effect. Um, I would say that I see it. I don't know if maturing is the right word, um, because I'm always maturing as a player as I get older, and as I keep learning music, new music, and writing music and knowing what's inside myself and whatnot. But I want to say it's making me more motivic. It's making me more thematic,
Hmm.
and I like the restraint. That's the thing. It's like we could all be putting out 1,000% energy, but we'd burn out quickly. And so when I rock and roll, sometimes I like to do that, but I still have a wealth of energy. So it's like, all right, I'll just burn it 110% for the next 3 hours.
Hmm.
But being, putting a, a bottleneck on it and the restraint is very healthy, and it's making me more thematic. And so it is strategizing for me now versus the feeling. I want to get into this frame of mind for the music so that I'm not always thinking as much, and I could feel in this within these parameters, I guess you could say. But yeah, no matter what, it's making me, I want to say, more melodic, because you guys
Hmm.
are instrumental.
Hmm.
So, and you have 120 plus songs, maybe 200. Man, there's only what, 12 notes out there, and now it's just how many different thousands of ways can you put the notes together to create these melodies. So
Hmm.
it's really a deep dive into melody and theme, you know and so
Nice.
it's already having its effect. I think I told you and I told the boys that you know Lotus has creeped into the breakfast when
Mm,
breakfast is hitting some jams, because we just, you hit a jam that's like, where do we want to go? All of a
mhm.
sudden, everyone's taken a different mood and a different patience. So it's been good.
Nice, nice. Yeah, you mentioned something, the part about, yeah, just being an instrumental band and um, I think you said becoming just more melodic and more thematic.
Yeah.
Um, I think because we've been an instrumental band, like I think, yeah, there was a version of always like orienting, as the lead guitar player, like orienting around being sort of like the lead singer.
Hmm.
So, but it just comes out through the guitar. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's, because I get up with one band and it's like, here's the style of those solos. And then I get up with this other band, here's the style of those solos. So Lotus has a style for sure. And being the lead guitarist and or vocalist, if you will, you got to keep it fresh, but you got to keep it so it's accessible. You
Mhm.
want the listener to be like, I'm with you, the entire time, constant train of thought, everyone, all minds hooking up.
Yep.
And I would like to reverse this question to you
Mm,
in the sense that how has Lotus affected your guitar
mm.
playing, and how has your playing affected Lotus?
I feel like that's a hard, uh, in a way, it's a hard question to answer because my whole existence as a guitarist has been in this context. So it's hard to like separate the entity from my individual, or it's hard to separate the collective voice from the individual voice because they evolved it together.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know if I have anything more about that.
One and the
I
same.
It's one and the same that fits. Um,
I guess you'll know when you play your first wedding gig, right?
that's what I'm graduating to a wedding band. That's oh my god.
Oh, God. That's when I mean, because it happens. We play with so many different musicians all the time, but it's funny when you take them out of their natural element, put them into a new one, you're like, oh, you could hear the strengths and the weaknesses of a player depending upon the situation you're put in. Like if I had to play a jazz gig straight ahead, you'd be like, oh wow, little little chink in Tim's armor over here.
Mm,
you
mm,
know. But I relish those moments too, because it's a educational,
mm,
moment.
totally. Yep. I think I have one more little piece on your question.
Okay.
Um, it would it's pertinent to point out that one of the ways I've been shaped by Lotus is for sure um, the Miller's songwriting. Like there's so many because they for quite a few years now when they compose they've even composed like the guitar parts and everything
Hmm.
and in the in the compositional portions of the song obviously,
Sure.
and there's just so many things that I never would have thought of myself, especially like Jesse tends to write kind of like strange, like quirky melodies, strange like chord progressions. Like I never um, would have come up with that stuff. And so
Mm.
there's been a deepening and a broadening of my voice through their influence and their contribution as songwriters. And I do think that often it seems like Jesse often had a, um, a little bit of or curiosity or wanting an urge to push towards getting outside the box a little bit or getting more colorful or bringing in more like different chord changes that aren't just playing in the same mode and the same notes like all the time. He would like to switch it up.
Mm.
So without that kind of those kinds of nudges, I don't think I would have experimented as much as I did at times with like playing notes that are outside of scale or whatever. Um, and I was often challenged in it.
Mm,
When if he was wanting to do like some kind of key change or something, it was often not an easy um, move for me to make because I don't know theory that well. It's not like information that would stick in my brain.
mm,
And so, but I want to close this by saying this is one of the areas where I'm excited about you and your capacities and your technical capacities, your knowledge of theory and of the instrument, is that I think that there's going to be some potentiality in terms of improvisation and like playing outside the box, like doing key changes, playing over key changes that will be accessible with you that weren't fully accessible with my approach.
mm.
So,
Well, you fooled us all because everything sounds great.
mm.
But are you saying there's room for atonality in Lotus?
I think so.
I'm scared. I'm scared to play certain notes outside the box. Like I'll do everything within taste, and there's a few songs they mention where we want to get a little dissonant here, but I'm just scared to go too out. Because you know how Fish has those moments of like just a mental bender of like, and it gets really, really out there. It's like I don't know if that's a direction they want to go in sometimes, but this is like part of the future. We'll see if they want to scare people a little bit.
No, I mean, I think there's definitely room for that kind of like tension building because to me that's what it is. Like it's so
Yes.
when I hear Fish do that, they get dissonant in the middle of a jam, and it's just so much tension and like builds and builds, and it's just fun to
Yeah.
go through that journey of tension and release.
Yeah.
And I'm imagining I could see you guys doing that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I'll have a little voice in my in-ears. Be like, hey, stop that. Oh, no, more of that. More of that. I've never
Yeah,
used in-ears before, so I'm looking forward to it.
yeah. I imagine there's some like jam band purists out there who imagine like that's cheating to use in-ear in that way, but like to me, it was a game changer and like
Yeah.
like a cool tool to be able to get on the fly cues, like to collectively pivot like on the spot. Everybody's on the same page. I think it's a cool feature of the in-ears.
I think so too.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to demand like Zappa like focus from the band where they're all watching him as a conductor and he's worked out all those hand cues and they know what the
Mm.
deal is. Otherwise, it's like, people are partying, you're in the jam, eyes are closed. It's like, yo, we're gonna end the song now, dude. So I
Totally.
look at it as an advantage as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Whose turn is it?
Uh, what? Well, I think we've probably been going for almost a half hour. Maybe we could do one more each.
Okay.
And does that fit for you?
Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
you said keep it at a half hour, but man, we start talking and it
I know.
flies by.
Yeah. I bet we could roll for a long time.
Yeah, when we talked the first time, it was like an hour and a half later, and it felt like, 20 minutes.
Yeah. I noticed that.
Yeah. Yeah. So go for it.
I'm gonna turn. There's two questions here. I'm gonna turn them into one, and yeah, you can do what you want with it. So, what are you most excited? What are you most excited about as you join Lotus, and what are your biggest fears, anxieties, uncertainties about joining Lotus? We might have touched on
Well,
some of this already. But.
I'm excited to, play bigger rooms for more people, and I'm excited to paint guitar solos all night and not sing and not play cover songs that I've been playing forever.
Mm,
So that's cool. Yeah, and I'm excited, yeah, just to make new music. And I bought a bunch of new pedals, so I'm excited to constantly use them and dive in and just, soundscape really. I'm looking forward to that. And then the fears, well, fears would be I just want to make the fans happy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Coming into it 20 years running, you guys just closed out with Summer Dance, and now it's like, here we go. You know, my first, we got to do the Ardmore show next week. I got them to do it because I was like, don't plop me in front of resonance, never having used in-ears and never having had a sound check. You know how the festival throw and go scene is.
Totally.
But we're still doing a Nugs video camera shoot. And I'm like, oh great, here we go. You know, camera mounted internally into Tim as he's playing for the first time.
Yeah.
So I just want to make all the fans happy, and of course the band happy. You know, they're putting a lot of faith and trust in me, having only rehearsed, once a month for the last 3 months. It's like, I'm doing my damnedest to play with all the recordings and just jam with you guys. So, and that's interesting too. It's like, I hear you solo, but I'm like, all right, don't just play what he's soloing. How would I work around this? And then sometimes it's fun because, now you and I are dancing while I'm playing with the recordings. But, I'm really looking forward to another excited thing is playing with Greenfield. Guitar drummer connections are important in music. And so once he learns my vocab and I learn his more, and we start hooking up, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, totally. I resonate with that for sure. He's good at responding to like rhythmic patterns that I'm doing and vice versa. That's fun. Yeah.
And what are you what's new for you now? Like what's next?
Oh wow, it's a big change of pace. I I've had this curiosity for so long, like what's it like to live at home and stay at home? What is that like to be a part of a community? So the stationary life is quite exciting to me, actually, and not having to pack up and go to the airport is just like, it feels like the greatest thing ever at times. And I'm finding my way in a new career. Like I'm super interested in like human growth and development and mindfulness, and I work with individuals and just supporting them in their process and their journey of self-discovery. I look at it as so many of us have inherited, I guess I could say, ways of being or ways of relating to the world or ways of relating to ourselves that just so often yield unnecessary suffering. And so like I'm really just like interested in supporting people and like reducing suffering and finding their true voices and living mindfully and contributing to the world through this kind of psycho-spiritual growth. And so there's different tools and processes I use for that. And then I also have some musical stuff. I'm definitely like, it's been surprising to me to how much I found myself daydreaming about what's next musically. Even thinking about another band or just thinking about producing. I have a project I want to release with a guy named John Laboon. He releases music under the name Solocybin, and he and I had produced some music, around 2013, and I love it. It's great. We just never got it out there, and it's like 90% done, and I'm super proud of it. And so I'm going to release that soon and explore my voice as a producer, and possibly do some eventually. I don't think soon, but eventually, like do some gigging locally around
Right
Colorado.
on.
Yeah.
Well, the stage is always open to you, my friend. Anytime you want to dual guitar at a Lotus show, I'm down.
Cool. Oh, I appreciate that invite. I imagine I can totally see us getting down. I'd love to rejoin you guys and just feel that energy and remain a part of it. And to like, explore what would emerge once you've adapted and you found your place in there. And I think it'd be super fun to like do some dancing up on stage.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I really appreciate you, spurring this. This was great.
Yeah, dude, this I had a great time with you, Tim. Thanks for taking the time. I imagine the fans are gonna dig it, and I know I'll be seeing you. I think Monday we're gonna have a little gear session.
Yeah, little gear
Yeah,
session, little talk about the details, so I can cross the lower, the lowercase t's and
yeah, yeah.
and all that. But I mean, yeah, it's there's a lot of nuance, there's like all these subtleties, and so I have to not only listen to maybe a studio recording, but then I'll listen to this live recording. But I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? Because we're human, we're gonna make a few errors. I'm like, was that intended or not? And then I have to
Totally.
cross-reference that with another live recording to be like, oh, okay, yes, that is the way.
Right, right,
So
right.
you're going to help me out big time Monday with some minor details that I'm sure the fans are very aware of, because I'm the newbie here. So they're going to be like, nope, you missed it. Sorry. Like this.
Yeah,
No, but you
yeah,
guys got a great fan base. Honestly, there's a lot of love there. I sense the love, and the love for you guys as people, but then the love for the music that has been. And music changes everyone's lives and gets them through the daily grind. So
yeah, yeah.
you have impacted people. Like I said, there are babies made because of you.
It's true. I often said that's like one of the best compliments I could ever get, is just like, oh yeah, it's like I make love with my partner to your music. I'm like, yes, the fucking best.
That's awesome.
All right, Tim. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I'm gonna just end the recording and you can close out. Thanks, Tim.
Sure. Thank you for the torch.